Hey there, folks. We're here once again with another episode of Unfinished Business. Deep Dive. I am your host, Jeff Galashaw, and with us as always is Andre Joseph of AJ Epics.
Howdy.
And we are going to talk about a film this week. Because Deep Dive, we're here to talk about movies as always. But in the Deep Dive, we dissect the films as to, why we like or hate them, or a deeper criticism, our history with maybe certain titles. This week, this episode, I chose the 1995 independent comedy, Welcome to the Dollhouse, written and directed by Todd Solondz. One of my favorite independent directors. This was his first film of his that I saw, and I remember it making a big splash at Sundance and reading about it in all the magazines, and I was so determined to see this movie once it finally came out that I ended up going to see it at an 11 o'clock show on a Sunday night opening weekend because I wanted to get tickets, but I didn't want to be in a crowd watching this movie. And when I saw it, it more than surpassed my expectations because I remember all summer I was waiting for it, and E used to have a show called Coming Attractions where they used to just show trailers, and I remember taping the trailer and re-watching it over and over. That is how badly I wanted to see this film. And it's a kind of a controversial film, you could say. It is a very dark teenage comedy that is a coming-of-age story, but the difference here is there's really no happy ending, Every time there's some little joy, it's still tinged with darkness or defeat. And the main character, Dawn Wiener, who the director has resurrected in different movies, even though he killed her off in one movie, starting the movie with her funeral, and always played by a different actress than Heather Matarazzo, who has decided not to reprise the character. Here, Dawn Wiener is a junior high school student who is picked on by everyone, and I mean literally everyone, even the teachers and the nerds pick on her. And obviously her family, she knows she's not the favorite. She's the odd duck in her family because her parents love her younger sister, and her brother Mark might not be the favorite, but at least, he has his niche in the family. I know it just sounds so depressing, but I guess the whole little thing that Dawn Wiener has hope, no matter what the circumstances, just makes you admire her in the movie more, even though it does throw a lot at her. I mean, she's threatened by the school bully who tells her at 3 o'clock, I'm going to rape you. And she actually shows up, Usually in these types of films, the outcast character has a special talent. Dawn does not, because even when she takes tests, she fails, So she's not good in school. She's not good in anything. And I don't know why, even though this is kind of a depressing movie, I love it. I love the soundtrack, with the songs written by Jill Wiskoff and sung by Daniel Ray. I bought the soundtrack after it. It is also the first movie of Eric Mabius, or Mabius, however you say his name, who some people might remember from Ugly Betty, and also he was in the first Resident Evil movie. I'm just I don't know. This is one of those my all-time favorite movies, though. It's a movie I wouldn't suggest for everyone, because it could be triggering, but it also shows the cruelty of just childhood in general, and shows that even characters you've written off might have surprisingly hidden depth, even though Dawn's parents are just horrible, Andre, tell me about your history with Welcome to the Dollhouse.
I remember when it came out, I didn't see it when it was first released. I only remember the poster of Heather Matarazzo, pose all trying to be dolled up and sexy, and not really knowing too much about it. I knew it was a comedy, but I was almost like, I don't know if I really want to see this. This looks kind of iffy to me. But I'd seen her in other things. I've seen her in Scream movies and a couple of TV shows over the years. She's good friends with our friend Aisha Wax. They've been seen together. They've actually worked together on a few things. And so I didn't see this movie until recently when it hit Tubi. And pretty much it's what I would have probably felt if I had seen it back in the old days. It would have been very awkward, very uneasy, but still it's appealing enough to say this is a good film. So the whole deal of like this is a girl that's clearly going through puberty, who's got interest in like this jockey looking dude that pays no attention to her, and she's trying to do everything humanly possible to kind of like sex herself up to try to get his attention. And at the same time, you have the bully played by Brendan Sexton, whose family is, by the way, family friends of my parents. And so he's like playing kind of character he was playing a lot of in the 90s, kind of like a gangly type of bully type. And like you said, he wants to rape her, but then that's not what ends up happening. They end up like developing something a little more of this awkward relationship, and he kind of gives her more of what she wanted from the other guy. And then there's like the whole subplot where she hates her sister to death. The sister's supposed to be like this spoiled brat of a princess, and then at one point she sends her off on a bus and they think she's missing, and there's becomes this whole scandal. So like that pretty much fits this director's aesthetic. It had the it reminded me of Heather's to a certain degree. It was kind of dark in the humor, and yet it also felt like a Wes Anderson movie at times, with also its kind of offbeat type of style and the direction, the costume design, the wardrobe, the set design. So all that's kind of there. I haven't seen any of his other films of this director, but now I'm curious, being that it's all pretty connected. Yeah, it's a good film. Just it's like Red Rocket. I probably would see it one time, and then I don't know if I want to watch it again unless I need inspiration.
Well, this is a movie I can say I have watched repeatedly over the years. I have seen Todd Solondz other films. Believe it or not, this is the happiest of his movies. This is the one where it has that emotional connection, but also those big yet subtle laughs. This is more of a character comedy. Like Eric Mabius. His character has no depth, so that you wonder what Dawn sees in him other than look. Because he even flat out steals money right in front of her face, and she seems not to notice. I mean, there's just so many complexities throughout this film that you're like, this is like just a troubled childhood. You would expect, like, this is the type of character you would expect to run away from home and become a drug addict, or run away or maybe commit suicide because of how she's treated at home, because she's essentially the middle child and is treated as such, except, the middle child always feels like they're ostracized, except here, she actually is ostracized by her family and, just everybody at school. And I think what I like about the film is that nobody, maybe other than Steve and maybe cousin Anita, who's wordless role, nobody in this movie is particularly movie star beautiful. Right. Everybody looks like a real person that you would see on the street, and, I admire that. As always, you kind of feel like Dawn Wiener is the director surrogate with the big, thick glasses and, always being picked upon and going through all this, but still managing to always like have, her head above water, or at least keep continuing. I know that there was originally in the script a scene where Dawn actually does get raped, but luckily the director thought better and decided not to do a Rob Zombie and just decided, that would have been too much, considering all that she does go through in this film. I mean, even when another character who I guess is an easy girl it even tells her like you're ugly. And you know, this girl isn't, you know, isn't the best looking in the world either. So
Yeah,
like,
right.
you know, the one interesting bit of trivia, I don't know if you know who Christina Vidal is.
Yeah, from Life of Mikey.
Yes, and Tanya, she has a small role in this movie, you know, as one of the cheerleaders asking her if she's gay. You know, yeah. If you go back and or just look at that scene, just look at all the cheerleaders, you'll notice her. She's probably the only one of color. You know, so just, you know, because I followed Christina Vidal's career when she was younger. That's the only reason I noticed. But like I said, this is really the teen movie no teen really ever wants to see, because it's like this is the mundanest nightmare of like teenagedom that unfortunately some people who are maybe less popular have to go through, you know. And like I said, there is no really shine of hope, but somehow the film tries to end kind of happy, even though it's not really that happy, you know. And after seeing in future movies what he does with the character, it's like it doesn't seem like it gets better for her, you know. So it's a shame, but like I said, yeah, this is if you're gonna watch a Todd Solondz film, this is the one that you're probably gonna be the one that's most able to stand, because again, this is the happiest and strangely the most mainstream of all of his movies, because Happiness, ooh, no, it's not a film where, you know, you put a character who's a pedophile in comedic situations. Not probably the film for, you know, general audiences. And then, you know, Palindromes, which I love, but also a very hard sit. And then he goes more the artistic route with films like Life During Wartime and Wiener Dog, you know. But yeah, this to me is like his classic and a strangely a comedic classic for me. Sorry you didn't enjoy it as much, but you know, again, as you say, I have artsy fartsy taste at times, so maybe that's what got to me, you know. And I guess at that point, made 1995, so I was 17. I could partially identify. Nothing was ever that bad for me, but you know, I like the underdog, you know.
Yeah.
So, and you know, it's a shame that unfortunately the character never gets that time to shine or to get revenge on certain characters. So, you know, but I would definitely recommend and say it's worth watching for people who haven't seen it already.
I recommend it too. I also will say, you know, for Heather Matarazzo, you know, she's been going through a lot recently because she feels like, you know, her career may have not gone the way that she wanted, and, you know, has had some personal issues. But there's a lot of people that like this film, that like that performance, because it is natural. It does feel realistic. And like you said, she doesn't get the upper hand on anybody. You know, it's pretty much she starts one way and remains the same all the way through. There's not really a whole lot of change there by the time the movie is over. But I think like when I see her like in the Scream movies and stuff, she's always like a nice presence to have on screen when you think of that film or anything else that she's done in her filmography. So, you know, I'd like to see more of her. I'd like to, you know, she could probably play a lot of things. Hell, I'd love to talk to her on this show if she was interested. You know,
So
I think she has a presence that is always welcoming in any movie that she does or TV show.
I agree. I'm like she should be having a career like Melanie Linsky.
Yeah, exactly. You know, she just blew up out of nowhere, and yet here she was doing, you know, Fearless Creatures for Peter Jackson when nobody really knew her. Now people are starting to recognize. I think maybe Heather Matarazzo should get that moment as well.
I agree, because, you know, I mean, no matter what she's in, this will probably be the role I will always remember her for or remember her in. So, and, you know, and over the years, I've seen her in different things playing different roles. So I know she has the range, you know, so that's why, you know, like you said, she's always a welcome presence in no matter what she's in. You know, it's almost like, you know, seeing an old friend, even if she's playing a different character, you know, so, I really wish, you know, I really hope that, she does get that kind of career resurgence, because this film, even at a young age, showed she has the chops.
Yes.
And so, yeah. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say about this film. Definitely, all of you go out and see it. So that ends our business for this week. But as you guys know, there's always unfinished business. So until next time, we bid you adieu.